All right. So I have to come to the keyboard to go to the next slide. I can't have a little thing.
Yeah. Again,
That's not very
so
modern.
maybe you should, if you clap like 3 times, then you can start.
So yeah, my name is Pedro. This is my Twitter. I put it here because everybody does that, but actually I never go on Twitter, so do not check it out. I work at Porch right upstairs, and the other guy who got through the cake today, so it's pretty cool. What else? I've been working on this really cool app for woofing. I don't know if you know what woofing is, but it's a worldwide organization for organic farming. So it's basically for people who live in the city who have no idea how to grow anything or to take care of animals except cats and dogs. They can go live on a farm for like a month or two and learn how to do farming, right? So I created this website for French woofing. So it's all the farms in France that are organic and where you can go on vacation, for instance. You can go, it's app.woof.fr. I can give you the link if you're interested. Anyway, it's a cool Ember app. So I've been working on this app for a long time. Actually, it's been pretty much a year now. And when I started, there was no Ember CLI. It was before 1.0. I had no idea what I was doing, and worked on it for months and months and months. And finally, it was time to go live, to go in production. And one of the big issues that I had is that once it's live, first there's no comeback, because that would be bad. And they had an app before in PHP, blah blah blah, that I got rid of everything. And so the app was live, and I started to do support, because you guys, when you work in a company, if you're working in a large enough company, when you push your app to production, you don't have to deal with it. So you hand that to support, and then when there's an issue, it's support issue. But when you have to do support yourself, then you're really happy to know actually what's going on, right? So that was my struggle, and I wanted to share that with you. So first question is, why monitoring? So I can answer that, but so when you see that that red number here, that's my monitoring system that I will talk about. You're not happy, especially with the red stuff here. That's HTML. And when I recently switched to Ember CLI 0.2.3, whatever, I got HTML bar running, and I had a lot of issues that it was working on my machine, but it was not working on other people's machine. So when you see that, usually you're like, so what's the recipe of a good, solid Ember app? Step number 1, you write code for months. Step number 2, you only look at it in Google Chrome. Canary, of course. Step number 3, you think really hard, it's unbreakable. Step number 4, you get trashed. Step number 5, you push to production. So everything is great, your app is live, you've been working on it for months, it's awesome and everything. And my life was great until that email. Let me introduce you to Jill. Hi, I'm trying to fill your membership webpage, but I'm having problems with my address being accepted into this page. I'm from New Zealand. Totally helps, right? It's very important. She's actually from New Zealand. It's not just for you, Dave. Thanks, Jill. Me. Hi, Jill. Could you send me a screenshot of the page you're having issues with? We never know. Maybe a screenshot, you would see something obvious, like she forgot to fill a field or something like that, right? Jill. Thank you for a quick response. I am not that computer literate, but with some assistance from daughter, I will be able to send you a screenshot. That's not very encouraging for me. Jill again. Hi Pedro, I just tried this again. The actual message that pops up after filling all the mandatory fields is an error occurred while processing your submission. Does that help you? Not at all. Me. Hi Jill. And this is real, this is true story. This is like, I went back into my emails and I copy pasted the emails that we exchanged, and I don't know why I was thinking about when I wrote that specific email. Click on the continue button to get the error message. Step number 2. Hit the F12 key on your keyboard. A little window will appear at the bottom of the screen. Step number 3. Take a screenshot or copy paste what you see under the console tab.
Oh my god.
Well, now you know why monitoring is important. Especially if you deal with people who have no idea how to use a computer, like farmers. Definitely, you do not want to have to ask them anything, pretty much. So how do we fix that? So first thing is how to track errors in Ember. So the first thing is Ember comes with two convenient ways of catching errors. The first one is Ember on error, and the other one is ember.rsvp on parentheses, whatever. So the first one is to basically get all the errors in the run loop, which don't really need to know what a run loop is. If you don't know, it's okay. It caches everything. And the other one is the RSVP errors. So those are more like for promise error, right? So every time you have a promise issue, it will catch it. So more like pretty much Ajax instructions.
Sorry, use Ember logger log, not console. For older some browsers,
yeah,
not console, and that will actually cause an error.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I will come to that very soon. Actually, don't do console.log, but that was just to give you an idea of like at least how to see what's going on. No worries. So then that's just to catch all the errors. Yeah, there's also like another one which is very convenient is the Ember App. You have an action error. Those are for the errors that come in the before model, and after model. Basically, if you're having errors that don't get logged and you're like, what the fuck? Well, then you just add the same. You go also there, you catch those errors, and with that you're covered. And if you're really paranoid and you want to get everything, you can use the good old window on error that usually comes with no stack and is absolutely pointless. But if you want to have those, you can also do that. So now this is just the 4 places where you can get errors, right? So now I give you an example. Yeah, the return true is I was reading about that. It's because if you have you have some predefined templates like loading.hbs and error.hbs. I think if you don't return true, the error.hbs don't get loaded. Something like that. Yeah, but that's bubbling if you are into a sub route. This is actually my application route. So there's no more bubbling at this point. So let's take a very quick scenario. You want to save a user, right? So user.save then, and then like you're writing your Ember app, and I'm sure you all have. If you use Ember data, at least you all went to that moment where like I catch, and then what do we do, right? You have potentially going to have an error. So what are the potential solutions? Solution number 1, just let it bubble up, right? If you just say it's supposed to work all the time, there's no reason that it would ever fail because I'm doing all my validation on the client side. The form is supposed to be completely great and all the data are there. So let it bubble up. So don't put a catch, and it would go to the RSVP error stuff. Solution number 2 is you can handle it locally, right? So you're like, oh, I know there could be a scenario where this will fail. There's not really any way for me to know that beforehand. So first thing I'm going to do is say user save, and then I'm going to catch a specific error, for instance 409, right? So if you say I'm going to catch 409, it means user conflict or whatever. So it means like I could not create the user because the email address is already used. Otherwise, if I get a 500, then it blah blah blah. Right. Took me a while to figure that out. So what about monitoring? Yeah.
Is Alertify an Ember method?
No, Alertify is just an add-on that I'm using called Ember CLI. I think Alertify. It's just to like show some little pop-up on the screen, right? So what about monitoring? So there's two alternatives. The first alternative is to log it all to your own infrastructure or to an external service, right? So if you want to do some homemade logging, so this is an initializer that you just drop in your application, right? So you call it Ember monitoring, and in the initialize you put Ember on your Ember RSVP, the stuff we already looked at, and then you have a logger function that do an AJAX call and it posts the stack and whatever you want, and you post that to your own REST API, and then you can just log it in the database, and then you're gonna have to you're gonna put it in your own database, and then you're gonna have to like create some sort of UI to look at those errors and query them and everything. So the pro is that it's cheap and customizable. The cons is that it's a waste of time, and another thing is that it will likely blow up when you need it the most, right? Typically, when you push a piece of code that is broken. Sorry for the interruption. So what I was saying, all the services are great to log yours. Thank you. So all the services exist to log JavaScript errors. The only reason why there's no more in this slide is because I couldn't fit more logo. But basically, those are also the most famous, I would say. It's a bunch of startups that try to do try to basically log your errors and give you awesome tools to find them. The thing is, like, you just don't want to just log them. If you just log errors and you don't know how to query them, how to find them, it's pointless, right? So I've tested a few for you, and I tested track.js, Honeybadger, Neuralink. I've talked to people using Sentry, but I haven't used it. So yeah, all those guys exist. I personally decided to use two tools actually. One is track.js is for my Ember logging, and I use Neuralink for the Node.js logging because they really do a very good job for those tools. But I didn't think that Neuralink was necessarily the best for the browser logging. But track.js is great. So I'm going to give you a little info about how to use track.js in your application. So, and I'm going to explain why track.js was really cool compared to other tools. So a thing that you can do here is that the track.js comes with a Bower package. You just do Bower install track.js, blah blah blah. You get your Bower package, and then when you run, you can create your initializer, and in your initializer you say Ember on or you put this logger. Except that here, instead of having your own custom way of logging stuff, you just use track.js.track, and that goes to track.js. It says prod only because there's a config file that comes with it, so in the config file you can just say, if dev don't track, if production can track. And then the Ember, the logger that I said that we were talking about, this guy, if I understand well, will only log in dev. Yeah, and you won't log in production, so at least you have some visibility. You don't have to go to track.js to see if you're on your app while you are doing development. So that works pretty well. Something that is really cool with track.js that other tools didn't have, especially Honeybadger that I tried, I think this is amazing. What you have is what they call telemetry, which is the timeline, right? So this is just like step 10, 11, and 12, so you definitely have more history. But you can see, like for instance here, that the guy in the field called intro and the field called trip motivation, he entered like 221 characters and 388 characters. So you can see that the user is interacting and when they've been interacting. So the guy spent 5 minutes on my app and 12 minutes on my app on the same page, right? And then he clicked on a button and no, didn't work. So this is kind of expected, I mean, in a way, not really expected, but he got a 409 because he actually already created his profile and just came back to the same page and tried to create the profile again. which I figured out was actually extremely useful at all, because I figured out that some people, for some reason, click the back button and go back to the create profile, and for some reason decide to refill the entire form. So that's telemetry. It's very, very useful to actually know. You just don't have an error. You actually have the history of what's going on before the user have an error, right?
What does telemetry mean? The amount of time spent on the page? Or?
No, telemetry, I think, is just the name they gave to the tool that show you the timeline. It's called track.js telemetry. It's just like, I think it's just a marketing name, but it's really cool to be able to know what was the user doing before everything blew up, right? So back to Jill. How to find Jill? Because after I had those issues and everything, I was just like, all right, I really need to know. I really need to know how to find Jill. So what I did is that I'm using Ember Simple Off, which is an awesome add-on, by the way. You should use it. I mean, not necessarily, but if you want to, it's great. The application route mixing, long story short, you have an action called session authentication succeeded, which is basically a hook when the user logged in, is logged in, and you say set track.js user, and you can get the user ID of whoever's logged in. Basically, what is important here is that you say track.js.configure user ID. And when you do that, you basically tell track.js inside your app that, hey, now the guy is actually logged in. Because my app has a few pages where you can be without being logged in, and then at some point you have to log in. So when the user actually logged in, I set that up. Oh, why is it cool? Because when Jill contacts you and she say, I'm from New Zealand and I have issues with your page, you find Jill in your database, and you, with the email address, right, that she sent you, and you don't have to ask her anything. With the email address, you find the user ID in your database, and with the user ID, you go to track.js/users, and then you put the user ID, or you just use the form, or you put the user ID, and then you have an error that shows up, and that says null is not an object, right, which in that case is completely useless. But then you click on the error. Then you click on the error, and you actually get the telemetry and history of what Jill was doing before everything blew up. So Jill was not answering my emails anymore, so I just decided to set up track.js. And
Wait, she wasn't answering your emails after that?
no, she gave up. She gave up, but I was just like, keep trying, we'll see what happens. And I set up track.js, and
So
I was
Pedro, if Jill was paying your company like $2,000 for vacation package, that would be gone.
Probably. That's why you should set up track.js as soon as you go live, right? So when Jill contacts you, you can immediately find interesting information. It's been great. Now, when people send me an email, before I answer or anything, I mean, unless I know exactly what they're doing, such as don't use Safari version 5, because it doesn't work, I just say, hey, yeah, we're investigating the issue, and I go to track.js right away, find the email address, and I can see all the errors in the past 7 days, 30 days, depending on how much you pay track.js, to know what happened to those people. So that's great. That is not into Honey Badger. I first went to Honey Badger accidentally. I was just like looking around for tools. In Honey Badger, you cannot query errors by user ID, which I think is messed up. Like it sounds like the really #1 feature. Honey Badger doesn't have telemetry either, so I think those features are really missing. Honey Badger was initially for Rails code, so I think it makes sense that there is no telemetry, you could say, because that's not their core stuff, but user ID, it seems kind of legit, right? Another sweet feature is that, hey, something I haven't thought about is that when you go to production, you actually minify your files, right? So your giant minified blob compiled huge vendor.js and app.js that you send on the internet end up giving you a stack trace in track.js that looks like, L.I or, stuff that are not clear, and you're like, oh, what I'm going to do is that stack trace, and you can actually drag and drop your map file, your vendor.js.map or your source map, and you drag and drop it, and then boom, like that stuff refresh right away and gives you the actual call stack with the actual lines in your code. So you can just go to your code and find it right away, which is another very sweet feature. By the way, source maps are not enabled in production build. If you want to enable them, go to your block file and add source maps enable true, extension, you can say JS, CSS, whatever. Just so you can get a source map, right? And then so you can do the build on your local machine, and when you have the source map, you just drag and drop it in track.js. If it's the same version, if you're not looking at a version of 2 months ago, you will get a pretty good line number. All right, a couple gotcha. So most Ember errors are not instances of error, especially the JavaScript, the XHR run, right? If you do a post or a put and you get RSVP error, it won't be an instance of an error. So what I did is that I have this function. I'm always like truncating the rest of the file. The file is kind of big, but log error, right? I receive an error, and I actually call a private function method called convert to error. So what I'm saying, what I'm here is like, oh, if you are an object, if you're not an error, then I'm trying to extract a message by trying either response text, which is pretty standard with XHR, or a message, or just toString. I mean, I'm trying to extract something here, and then I do a new error. The reason why you want to do that is because if you just log that into track.js, it's going to be object, and that's really not useful. So usually by doing that, I really got like better results. So same stuff. If you want to save time, save a week, because then you're going to go to track.js and you're going to see all those object, and it's very disappointing. So that's a good thing to know. Another gotcha. Track.js by default logs a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that it tries to do. Actually, if you just drop track.js into your app and you don't do anything without even doing the Ember on error and everything, track.js will start logging a lot of stuff. So you can actually configure track.js in your index.html by setting a bunch of options. And here I say network enable false. So because otherwise what happens is that track.js log when you get let's say a 500 or 404 or whatever, and then on top of that, ember.rsvp.error logs it again, so you end up with a duplicate. Bless you. You end up with a duplicate for each error, right? Which is kind of not great. Last gotcha is that if you disable XHR logging, then you should use promises all the time, because otherwise, you're actually losing yours, which is another issue that I have. So let's take an example. I have this URL called reset password, right? I'm not using the data for it because there's no point. So I was doing ember.dollar.post. So what I'm doing here is I'm using ACIJAX, which I've never really seen I've never seen the reason of using it before, except using the syntax of promises, which I think is kind of silly. So I was like, I'm just going to do ember.post, $.post. So here I'm using ACIJAX. And what is ACIJAX? ACIJAX is a wrapper for XHR that promisify everything. If I may say it in these terms, I'm sure there are some people here who don't know. Basically, you're using you're just using the syntax of promises to do XHR calls, such as here. And so here I'm doing reset password. If it works, then transition to route login. If I receive a 404, then say user not found, and otherwise you throw, and that would go to your global RSVP handler, etc. I don't know I'm sorry if that was messy, but I don't know how to explain that in better terms. Good news, everyone. So I was talking with the track.js guys, and he said the following. I would love to offer the meetup something. If you can share that the email todd@track.js.com. They saw you at the Ember.js meetup. We'll give them 3 months for free, so go ahead and email them. Usually the free trial is 1 month, so they're extending it to 3 months for you guys if you want to check it out. I think that it's great because like 1 month you set it up and then you're busy and you have like emergency features to do and you don't look at track.js, and when you come back your trial is over. It's kind of annoying, so I think 3 months is a good time so you actually go to it and you can look at errors and you're like, all right, this tool is amazing, I definitely want to pay for it. The price, if you have a small application, I think the lowest price is $19 per month, so it's really cheap. I think there's really no reason to. That's another thing, New Relic was very expensive, like I think the minimum was $150 per month. They do a lot of stuff, which is great. Sometimes I would say almost too much. But I think $19 per month is pretty cool. And it's made in Minnesota, which is cool too. And yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah.
That source map.
Right.
Where was that was a property of that application? Where did you? I'm searching the Ember application.
So
in your Brock file.
yeah. Oh, sorry. A source map is basically, I don't really know actually, but where do you put it?
Yeah, but you had it on the slide.
In your Brockfile.js. In your Ember CLI project.
Oh yeah. In the Brockfile.js, you can set that option at the top of the Brockfile.js that would create source map. So we know when you do like Ember build, you can say -- environment equal production. So you specify that you're building for production, but then you will see that your dist folder does not contain any map file, which is, those map files are very useful in localhost, right? Because you can see, that allows you to do debug in Chrome. But when you're in production, you don't necessarily want to have those sitemaps because that actually makes your code readable for people, and you don't necessarily want them to read your code. So I don't know if it's a good idea to actually put the map file in production if there's like any security or problem with that. I was wondering that. So I don't do it, but
You generate it and then you plop it in when you need it.
yeah, I generate them right now. I just drag and drop them into the website. But I assume that if you just generate them and publish them, which I don't know if there is a problem with that. I'm not really sure. I'm sure the website could look at them.
You don't really need to publish it, and you don't really want to give it out if you're trying to keep your code.
That's the thing. My code is open source, like even the app. So I really don't care if people look at my code. So
In that case, it's probably.
yeah, I think so.
You could remove the source maps post build with like an add-on hook.
There we go.
Way to integrate the
presentations. I think maybe it would be worthwhile making that code, that error code that you made, and then that
Actually, well, if
into
you
an add-on. If you made that into an add-on, would be
well, so there is an Ember CLI track.js add-on. I'm working with the guy to try to improve it because right now it's not working really well. But another thing you can look into, if you go to Woof web app, right? So this is the first guy on GitHub. This is my application. Please don't judge me, but so I mean the app. I'm just gonna show off pretty quick. I just wanted to show off. All right, let's do it. And the Wi-Fi is.
Wow, looks great.
I know, right? Okay. Oh, there we go. So this is the list of farms in France, and it's basically the idea. You can just browse through the farm, and
what is the mapping library you're using?
that is OpenStreetMap. Yeah, actually, there's a lot of stuff in there that I had to struggle with, and that would probably require to have a talk about. But like, this is OpenStreetMap with leaflet, Ember leaflet, Ember CLI leaflet actually. So if you start zooming here, you can start seeing like the farm available. No, I really don't want to translate that. Leave me alone. All right. So you can. Well, this one has no. There's no photo. It's kind of sad. It's better with a photo, but there you go. There's a photo. And you click, and like you can see. Description of the farm, and then if you become a member, you can actually contact the farmer and go live on the farm. So there's a lot of code written for that app, and if you want to take a look, if you go to app, and then you go to initializers, I'm not using pods, sorry, and then error monitoring, and there's that, and there's the error handler, and you should take a look at the service error handler. It gives you an idea of like, this is in production and it's been working really well. So if you go to services and error handler, there's really like a bunch of actually additional code that I didn't show today. And if you get through it, you will understand. Well, this is absolutely unreadable. But yeah, there you go. Thank you.